5-year-old put in threat database for the next 25 years for saying to another 5-year-old, quote, "I wish someone killed you," unquote. Imagine the consequences if he hugged another 5-year-old without consent. I think they'd put him in the electric chair. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we're talking about a new law designed to protect students who are being restrained at school, physically restrained at school, plus an 18-year-old who was arrested after exposing himself to a girl inside a gender-neutral bathroom. Couldn't see that coming. But we start with a 5-year-old boy who made a childish threat to a classmate, a threat he didn't even understand, and as a result, will find himself and the incident following him around for the next 25 years in his permanent file. The way that we've indoctrinated teachers to think and public school administrators to think, all along the road, everybody you talk to says they knew the kid didn't mean it. At every level of intervention, from the first teacher to the police officer who took the kid away, right? At every level, everybody knew that this was not a real threat. The kid didn't know what he was talking about. The little boy had no idea what he was saying. When he was asked to repeat it, he repeated it again, right? It was only after he was asked repeatedly, "Do you want to see this boy dead?" No, I don't want that. And yet, despite the fact that at every single level, they recognize that this is not a serious or authentic threat, they still put the kid through every one of his paces, because if they didn't, they were terrified about what would happen.
And this happened at the Choices in Learning Elementary School in Winter Springs, and this is near Orlando. We had 2 kindergartners in the Phi Ed class who were, basically doing what 5-year-olds do, just talking to each other. But then the conversation took that ugly turn, and the one boy said that, "I wish someone had killed you." And just like you say, he didn't actually know when he was actually questioned what happened. But the Seminole County Charter Schools threat assessment team had mobilized. So first the teacher and administrator talked to that 5-year-old boy about what had happened. And then the school resource officer and the principal questioned the boy. And his parents weren't there.
All without parents, yeah.
All without parents. School resource officer, that's a cop. A cop questioned a 5-year-old. Okay, no parent around. And then the team actually got together and said, you know what, this kindergartner actually did not make a credible threat, probably because he's 5 years old. But they still entered him and his details of this incident into the threat assessment database. And so for the next 25 years, or until this little boy is a grown man at 30 years old, this will be following him around.
We treat little kids when it comes to these things like they're adults, right? We did a story last week where a kid was accused by another kid of having a gun in his backpack.
Yep.
They found no gun.
20 Valentines, though.
But the kid was still reported to the police.
Absolutely.
And questioned by the police.
Absolutely.
And detained by the police.
Absolutely.
Right, now you have a situation where a 5-year-old, where everybody knows is saying things that, as a little kid he doesn't understand. And yet we're still going to put him through the entire process here because we're cowards, right? Nobody knows any better. That we're gonna teach a lesson. We're gonna zero tolerance. I go back to that. Zero tolerance policies by really progressive, tolerant places are a sign of intellectual dishonesty, right? You do have a tolerance policy. You will not tolerate everything. You will not even tolerate little things like this. And we expect 5-year-olds who can't think about a statement like that from a 5-year-old's mouth. "I wish somebody would kill you." A little 5-year-old can't even process what that means.
Correct.
But we expect that 5-year-old to determine how vapor gender and mirror gender are different kinds of genders, right?
Absolutely.
And how there are don't worry about what your body looks like and how you feel. You are something else if you say so. That we expect. So where are the authorities who are putting into databases the teachers and superintendents who force that kind of propaganda on little kids? They should have a 25-year record, shouldn't they? For telling a little kid something like, who can't process it, like, "You're not a girl if you don't think you're a girl."
Well, and it makes you wonder if this database, and they're talking about how this is a statewide database and it's growing and they're getting more and more information, which we've been telling people would be happening. Are they going to start tracking, okay, Susie says she's a girl today. Next week, then Susie said she's an elephant. And then Susie decided, she's going to be a rainbow. Are you going to be tracking all of that as well? Because that's where this is going. And if you start tracking all of these kids for every little thing they say as a 5-year-old, they're going to have no time to be teaching,
we
which
shouldn't
we know.
be surprised, right?
No.
Because kids who chomp their Pop-Tarts into guns follow. People who wear an NRA T-shirt to school get
They're
called
violent.
out, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got an American flag on your pickup truck in the parking lot. Now you're xenophobic and offending kids. You refuse to wear a Mexican colors on May Day, Cinco de Mayo, right? And you could get in trouble for being a xenophobe in the public schools. This is all about, like you said, control. It's social engineering. They're taking your kids at the youngest possible vulnerable ages and forcing out of them any behavior, hopping on them with the full force of the law for anything that might deviate from the progressive path they want them to wander down.
And what this, just so everyone knows, in Florida, this statewide, basically all these school threats that are being made, it's going in so that all public schools and all charter schools must report any of this data. And there you go, you have it.
That's why we warned you about charter schools. All you people out there who got mad at us, right, for warning you about charter schools is because the charter schools take public money. You're going to have to do the same stupid things that the public schools are going to make you do. It's just the way it is.
And some of those public schools that used to be run by the one, the only Governor Tony Evers of
Skeleton on a stick.
Wisconsin actually did something where he signed into law a bipartisan bill making it mandatory for Wisconsin school officials to tell the public each time students in their care are isolated or restrained. And I am shocked that Governor Evers decided to actually sign this.
It is shocking, and I suppose we should give him credit for
I
this.
guess.
Despite the flurry
Here we
of
are.
vetoes of things that would have really helped kids, I will
him his
take
credit.
this, I suppose. But it's true, that at least in Wisconsin now, when these kinds of restraints go on, you have to notify the parents. But notice what you don't have to do. Notifying is not the same as listening to. Notifying, that's just simply saying, hey, in the Orlando case, hey, we've got your kid in the back of a squad car because he wanted somebody else dead. Just so you know where he is.
FYI.
Right? Tomorrow morning after we delouse him and give him a body cavity check, you can come and pick him up.
Yeah, and so it is all about the wording here. This new law does come as lawmakers and student advocates across the country push for fresh scrutiny on schools' policies to manage student behavior in the wake of a Chicago Tribune and ProPublica Illinois investigation that found schools were illegally separating children from their peers. This is happening in Chicago. Chicago is run by liberal leftists.
Yes.
Interesting how that happens. But that doesn't happen.
I wonder if it's disparate interest. I wonder if the little kid who threatened the other kid with death would have been separated if he were black.
Maybe.
Do you think? Because that would be racist.
That is racist.
You see the meme with the little black kid? That's racism.
This bill does also require that there is new training put in the de-escalation for school staff who are charged with restraining students who are misbehaving and not in control of their emotions or actions. So now the schools are going to have to pay for teachers instead of to teach to now go out and do all this training.
Yes.
So we're going to focus all of our attention on that. It will require a school official to remove locks from doors to rooms that were used for secluding students. I didn't know that they had such rooms that had locks on them.
So you can
when
lock kids away.
Lock kids away.
And why are you, as annoying as the teachers are and cowardly, they're not the ones who are ultimately locking the kids away. It's a superintendent. So everyone's going to have the mandatory training now because you got some incredibly skittish administrators who feel like this is the way to handle things. And then again, right, what happened to the days when we were in school where if you were acting up, they called mom came and took you home?
That doesn't happen because mom is, working an hour away, and
But they're not even calling mom to
They're
ask
not even
her.
Yeah, they're notifying her though, like, oh, by the way, earlier today,
thanks
we
to
put
Tony
little kids-
Evers.
Yeah,
But my point is that I don't know a mom or a dad who, if you called them and said to them, your kid's misbehaving, and if you don't get here in the next hour, we're going to have to turn them over to the authorities, they'd get there.
they would find a way.
They'd get there.
At least you would hope.
But there are no such options anymore.
Yeah, so I just want to point out, though, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards lobbyist Dan Rossmiller said, without question, this bill will impose new requirements and additional work on school personnel. The potential costs and workload that will result from these new requirements make it difficult for the WASB to support the bill. That said, we believe a number of changes made by the bill will be beneficial to pupils and parents.
You see what the unions are
The
saying,
unions
right?
are saying, exactly.
That everything is too much work. But you notice what
so
never
much
is?
work.
Lecturing 5-year-olds about gender and all the work that's not a burden.
No, that's education.
That's education, right? Promoting Planned Parenthood homosexuality curriculums. That's education. Forcing global warming propaganda into elementary schools. That's
That's saving the world.
Education.
That's
right?
saving the world.
It's only work. It's only work, right? When it has nothing to do, when it's not progressive. And it doesn't seem they want the ability to segregate these kids. They want the ability to put troublemakers in the system if they can. And that's what the union's all about.
Well, we're going to stay in Wisconsin, but we're going to head up north to Rhinelander, where an 18-year-old male student was arrested last week for exposing his genitals to a child inside the school's gender-neutral bathroom. Austin Sauer was arrested for fourth-degree sexual assault, child enticement, and exposing his genitals. And they haven't announced, but they say the child is believed to be a girl.
Why are they calling him explicitly male? Why are they using the masculine pronoun, a masculine word, to label this kid who very well may have thought and if he's got a smart lawyer, he will immediately point out that he was a girl. So he wasn't flashing a girl his penis. He was flashing another girl his front hole, because they both have front holes, right? See, this is the thing here. Notice how quick they are to when they find, because what they want you to believe is that this never happens. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with gender identity, because this kid was a man. So this is not fair to blame transgender or gender neutral bathrooms on this. This is clearly an 18-year-old. He's an adult too. Notice how quick they threw that in there.
Oh yeah.
This is an adult man who did this to a little girl in a gender neutral bathroom. The fact that why do you have any men in gender neutral bathrooms with little girls, that we cannot discuss verboten. We will not go there.
Well, and that is also part of the reason the school didn't send a message out to the parents, because this was an isolated incident, because it doesn't happen. And Sauer has been removed from the school. They say that since this happened, the gender-neutral bathroom has been closed. Yeah,
so they had no choice, right? Basically. Has been closed. The school didn't send a message to parents, as you pointed out, and the administration speak from a Rhinelander high school representative. This was not a random incident. What does that even mean? Wouldn't you think isn't that gonna scare parents more?
Exactly.
You're saying
this was not random.
You want to say this was a random, right?
Like we couldn't have planned it.
Right. This is what you get, right? Literally, the representative says this was not a random incident. Both students went into the bathroom voluntarily. Right? Isn't that random? Isn't that the definition of randomness?
Yeah.
So, but notice the hint. Both kids were in there. Both students were in there by choice, right? The bathroom is no longer available to students. Well, why? If it's random, right?
Then it won't happen. And I mean, the odds of it happening.
This was just a man who did this, not a transgender person.
It's true.
The male student will no longer be able to be on the school grounds. The arrest in question is still under investigation with the Oneida County Sheriff's Department, so I am limited in what I can say. I think you said plenty to get us a sense of what you think, honey.
There was a lot said there. All right, well, we know that no school is perfect.
Back to Wisconsin.
This time we're coming a little bit south, not quite all the way south, a little bit south, to a student who is suing the Baraboo School District. It's an African-American student who is suing her former school district for allegedly failing to respond to multiple sexual assaults and years of racial discrimination. And she's finding a nice, happy home in a Madison high school now.
So she went from Baraboo schools to Madison. Madison's a tiny community. It's very small, about 3,000. About 3,000 kids. And she went to Madison.
Yep.
Right. And what do we know about Madison from the article? We know from Madison that she can expect a much lower level of education. She can expect much, much more lapsing behind kids in schools like Baraboo. And the whole reason for why she's so content is what we've taught this young child since she started going to school. This is literally a case of all of this progressive social justice garbage coming back to bite Baraboo. I bet you any money you got a staff full of white women on Baraboo's payroll there. And from the moment that little black girl got there, she's been singled out and told how victimized she is, how bad she's got it, how the system is stacked against her.
She was at Baraboo and then she left. She's left a couple times because of family reasons, but they've always come back. And now she's finally going to Madison permanently. And she basically says that every time she was in Baraboo, because in Baraboo there's 81% of the students are white, according to the student data, and she felt obviously like ostracized, and she said there were racial slurs and that there was sexually explicit notes that were left behind. I don't know, obviously, if any of that is true, but she found fault with it, and so she's suing them.
Yeah, but if you look at some of the things she specifically lists, kids asked her about her hair, right?
When she was younger,
when she was
really younger,
right? This is the patented microaggression, right? So they asked her about her hair. She was asked, how about the other one that really got me? That at some warm up for a game,
that's the
they
one
were
that got me.
playing a rap song that had the N-word in it. And that was the fault of the white kids, right? So there she is, an African American, and she's doing it was like some warm up from a game or something.
It was warm up at the basketball game.
At the basketball game, and they were playing this song to get the kids. And so they're playing African American rappers. And that's a sign for her, right, that she's being discriminated against.
Well, and she says in this whole article, this little feature piece, that she tried to listen to all basically the white music, the pop music that, Miley Cyrus and Lady Gaga, because she wanted to fit in. And she tried shopping at PacSun and Hollister. So she wasn't even trying to be authentic to herself. She was just trying to copy that. Maybe the kids actually saw that she was not trying to be true to herself.
Well, that's because of the inherent racism of our school system. Baraboo, a little town with 3,000 kids, mostly white kids. That's the crime right there. Yeah. Look, no one should be harassed, but to the degree to which this stuff rises to the level of harassment is highly, highly dubious. What did she get? She's now back in Madison schools, much more diverse, much more low achieving. One wonders, too, by the way, how many of her struggles were achievement-based struggles. Was she able to keep up? Did she try to keep up? She tells us that she tried to adopt white culture. Yeah. That's one step away from saying, I like all my peers, I tried to get good grades, right? But that's not who I was. The whole thing is, good for her. She's in a place bottom line is good for her. She's in a place where she feels comfortable. And if she was that miserable there, right, in a very white little town in a very white part of the state, isolated from people who look like her, you could blame the school, I suppose, or you can do what the parents did and find another school for her.
So the suit continues. We'll see what happens. But that's going to do it for our Tuesday. If you like the show, please help us keep others educated by sharing this episode with your family and friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and or Parler.
Enrollment at Freedom Project Academy has officially launched. If you're sick and tired of the constant craziness taking place in public schools, we have a program for you. Our academy is fully accredited. You get a high school diploma if you take the right track. Judeo-Christian school, classical education. There will be no retaining your kids in locked rooms. There will be no playing rap music before online basketball games. This is a real school with real teachers who come into your home on the computer. We beam them into your home on the computer. They do the grading, they do the assignments. You just make sure they're online. For more information, request a free packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedomforschool.com. And for Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay Baraboo, my friends.